Welcome to this explainer. Today we're tracing the absolutely massive journey of agriculture, moving all the way from the dawn of human history to the sprawling scientific megastructures that are quite literally feeding billions today. It's a crazy story of human survival, ingenuity, and sheer scale, and we're going to break it down step by step.
Here's our roadmap for today. First, the dawn of cultivation. Second, the pioneers of agronomy. Third, building India's agro-institutions. Fourth, the colorful agricultural revolutions. And finally, number 5, a vast scientific network.
All right, let's jump right into part 1, the dawn of cultivation.
Think about this. Modern humans, Homo sapiens, evolved in Africa roughly 35,000 years ago. And for a really long time, we were just living wildly. The key takeaway on this timeline is that before we even cultivated a single crop in 7500 BC, we were taming animals like sheep and goats. And get this, the dog was actually our very first pet, specifically used as a hunting partner. It was only after we tamed animals that we finally settled down to plant seeds.
So, when humans finally began producing those crops, they literally had to physically dig into the earth. That simple physical act gave birth to the term agriculture. It's an art and a science, deeply rooted in the Latin words ager, meaning soil, and cultura, meaning cultivation. It literally translates to the cultivation of the soil. Makes total sense, right?
But as time ticked on, especially once we discovered iron tools, human populations boomed. We suddenly needed way more food. But here's the catch. Without proper care, soil productivity drops. People quickly realized they couldn't just plant, they had to manage. This birthed a highly specific new branch of science called agronomy. It comes from the Greek words agros, meaning field, and nomos, meaning to manage. It is all about managing that field to get the absolute highest quantity and quality of crops.
Moving right along to part 2, pioneers of agronomy.
It is super fascinating to compare these two absolute legends. On the left, we have Pietro de Crescenzi. He is officially known as the father of agronomy because, back in the 13th and 14th centuries, he was the very first guy to collect farming literature into one definitive book. But then, fast forward to the 17th century and look at Jethro Tull on the right. Tull was a total hands-on innovator. He actually gave us the physical seed drill and the horse-drawn cultivator. Even wilder, he's the guy who coined the concept of zero tillage and gave us the everyday word weed.
Okay, on to part 3, building India's agri-institutions.
Let's zoom in on India's administrative evolution. Their scientific cultivation really kicked off with commercial crops. Think sugarcane, cotton, tobacco. Initially, in 1871, they just threw agriculture into this massive joint department with revenue and commerce. But, spurred by the tragic Famine Commission of 1880, they had a huge wake-up call. By 1881, they realized that agriculture was simply way too critical to be bundled with commerce. It desperately needed its very own dedicated central department to prevent future crises. Which brings us to a really fascinating piece of institutional trivia. The Imperial Agricultural Research Institute, the IARI, was absolutely thriving at Pusa in Bihar after it was founded in 1905. Total success story. But then suddenly, something dramatic forced the entire operation to pack up and relocate to New Delhi in 1936. Any guesses as to what caused this massive move? Well, it wasn't a political shift, and it wasn't a funding issue. It was pure geology. A devastating earthquake in 1934 completely wrecked the original buildings. That natural disaster literally forced the move to New Delhi. They bounced back beautifully, though, eventually becoming a fully recognized deemed university in 1958.
Now, right alongside the IAR, another incredibly vital institution was evolving. The ICAR was set up in 1929 as the Imperial Council of Agricultural Research to coordinate education across the country. Then, in 1946, right on the cusp of independence, they proudly swapped Imperial for Indian. By 1966, under the visionary leadership of its first Director General, Dr. B.P. Paul, it became a fully autonomous powerhouse.
Section 4, the colorful agricultural revolutions.
I just love how India completely revolutionized its food production using this memorable color-coded framework. Most of us know about the famous Green Revolution of the mid-1960s that modernized crops. But look at the sheer variety on this list. You've got the White Revolution, Operation Flood for milk, the Blue Revolution for fisheries. There's a Round Revolution just for potatoes, and even a Black Revolution dedicated entirely to biofuels like jatropha. It is a brilliantly organized way to tackle a nation's total nutrition and energy needs.
And the economic result of all those colorful, targeted revolutions? Staggering. To put this into perspective, globally, agriculture accounts for roughly 4.39% of the gross domestic product. But in India, based on data from 2020 to 2021, it contributes a massive 20.2%. It is literally the beating heart of their economy. And finally, part 5, a vast scientific network. So how exactly do you support an economy like that? Well, the organized collegiate push actually started way back in the early 1900s. But the real modern acceleration happened in 1960. That's when the very first dedicated agriculture university was established at Pantnagar. That single university basically opened the floodgates for what was to come. Instead of dragging you through the dense 5-page list of institutions in our source material, just consider the sheer weight of this one number, 64. Today, there are 64 distinct state agricultural universities operating across India. 64 massive campuses entirely dedicated to studying and perfecting the science of the soil. And it doesn't stop there. Feeding directly into those 64 universities is an immense, localized infrastructure of roughly 210 constituent colleges. This means that in nearly every distinct climate zone and region, there is specialized scientific education happening right on the ground level. But wait, it goes even deeper than colleges. Governing all the raw biological data behind this system are the highly specialized national bureaus. We're talking microscopic building blocks of life here, from preserving fish genetic resources to cataloging agriculturally important microorganisms. These bureaus ensure the genetic heritage and the soil integrity of the entire nation are preserved, studied, and optimized. It is just wild to reflect on how far we've come. We started our journey today talking about early humans hanging out with hunting dogs before finally planting seeds around 7,500 BC. And now, we're looking at this incredibly dense scientific web with 64 universities sustaining a massive fifth of a modern nation's GDP. So, based on everything we've explored today, what radical innovation do you think will drive the next great agricultural revolution? Are we talking AI, genetic editing, or something we haven't even dreamed up yet? Thanks so much for exploring this fascinating topic with me. Keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.